Hi Grizzlies, welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we're just going to do some quick map time based on the case that I shared with you in detail yesterday, Christy Giles and Hilda Arzola. They were murdered by a wannabe Hollywood director, a Hollywood predator in plain sight, and there's so many more women coming forward now with stories of how he treated them. Thankfully, they survived, but unfortunately, Christy Giles and Hilda Arzola did not. So let's have a look at what exactly unfolded on November 12th of 2021, which resulted in the deaths of two young, beautiful women. So if we look here on the map, we are in the Los Angeles area of the United States of America. So for those of you who are international watchers, like me, I guess, I'm in the Netherlands, but it's all the way on the west coast of the United States of America, as you can see. Okay, so we all got to know this area real well together when we covered the Gabby Petito case, of course. And so here we go into the Los Angeles area. And so around here, this is not an exact address, but around here is this is where Christy lived, along this beachfront, around the Marina Del Rey area. So somewhere along there. What a beautiful area to live as well. Oh my word. And again, if you want to know more about who Christy Giles was and who Hilda Arzola was, please check out the video, which I've linked below for you, as well as the comments and somewhere up above as a card to just click on and check it out so that you don't miss out on the full timeline of what happened. You're going to need to watch that to understand what I'm doing over here. So Christy's home was over there. I'm not 100% sure where Hilda Arzola lived or, where her home was at the time. But that's where Christy lived with her husband, Jan Saliers. I believe that Jan is actually South African. I recognize his accent. It sounds just like when South Africans move to the United States. That's exactly how they sound. So, Jan, if you're watching, as with all family members of victims of crime and missing persons, you are more than welcome on the show anytime if you want to share any additional details or anything like that to help fight for justice for the beautiful wife that you lost. I'm so sorry for your loss. So Christy and Hilda went to this party in downtown LA called Soho Warehouse, is my understanding. So if we go there and have a look, you can see there's a rooftop pool, which looks absolutely magnificent. You guys know my hair is kind of still wet. I love swimming, okay? I went swimming this morning. Love it. And wow, I would jump in here. So if we just look at it like this, and if you wanted to, we can even put the little Google man on the street, and oh damn, we're flying through. Did you see that? Now we can have a look at this building. It was times of the Rona, so a lot of things were closed and on lockdown and things like that. So what they would do sometimes with these types of parties, as you can see up there is probably where the party would be happening, they would rent out these warehouses like last minute and then send everyone the invitation on the day type of thing, and then everyone would show up at the party. So of course Christy was an influencer and a model, and so she had connections in high places and would go to some of the most exquisite clubs and parties in LA. So herself and Hilda were at this party here at Soho House. At some point during the night, they had actually moved. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where they went, but that is what I believe was the warehouse party. So they had drinks somewhere before, and yes, they did recreationally use drugs, right? And so they were partying and planning for a big party that night, right? And they went to this Soho Warehouse. And then the next point that I have on the map, sorry, now I've ruined our orientation, guys. There we go. We need everything to face north first, okay? It's actually not that weird of me to want the map to be northward orientated, because that's what I learned to do as a pilot. It's where you start with maps, right? They wanted to go to a party up here in West Hollywood around this area. Again, I don't know the exact place, but in the hills, up in the hills around this area. So I've pinned this area because, you know, I know that this is around where they went, but I don't know the exact location where the after party was going to be. So that's actually what they wanted an Uber for, was to get there, you know. But of course, Mr. David Pierce offered them a ride. Okay, this was something he apparently did. So if we look from this Soho Warehouse area, this is where his house is. I want to say was, because now he's in jail, but is. And then he would have said, like, don't worry, I'll take you there. See, it's about, this is like, I know it's as the crow flies, but 9.5 miles, and it's like also around 9 miles. So same, but different. You see what I mean? He would say, I would take you there, but then he would just quickly have to pass by his apartment, you see. And this was something he did. It's one of his patterns. So, if we look at that, that's how they ended up at David's place. And within 20 minutes of being there, Hilda texted Christy, like, let's get out of here, with a wide-eyed emoji, and they ordered an Uber, and the Uber did arrive, but they never came out. So that's really sad. Now, the thing is, the next day, David Pierce and his friend, oh man, they dropped Christy off. Where Christy was left is a hospital that I put here. This is Culver City, so they did say at this, what do you call it? This Southern California hospital. So I think it was this one. It's also the pictures they show. I think it was this one, but she was dropped off at Southern California Medical Center or the Southern California Hospital. I stand corrected on some of these points because I see there's a lot of Southern California like medical centers, hospitals. But from all the pictures I've seen, it seems to be this area where she was dropped off. And of course, David Pierce and his buddy said, we are good Samaritans. We found her passed out on the curb. And she was deceased. So when her husband called the hospital because he saw her location ping there, they told him, I'm so sorry, but your wife is no longer with us. And then David and his friend went back. So they drove from their place, dropped Christy's lifeless body off, partially dressed as well. Interesting. And apparently they had, or at least David Pierce had SA'd both women. So he's really terrible. I hope he never ever gets out. But they dropped Christy off here, went back to their place, and then loaded Hilda up and then dropped her off at this Kaiser Permanente West Los Angeles hospital. When asked, why would you not drop the woman off at the same hospital, they said, ooh, we don't know how that would look. Like, why did you not call an ambulance? And they're like, because we didn't know these women, so we thought we'd just drop them off at the hospital. All right, one at a time and 2 hours apart, you know? Absolutely terrible. Now, Hilda was, of course, left there. She was still alive. She was put on life support. She had major brain damage from all the drugs that were in her system, and she passed away about 2 weeks later, a day before her 27th birthday. So Christy and Hilda had a lot of drugs in their system, including the date R-word drug in their system, GHB, as well as, I don't think I mentioned this in the video, but they both also had heroin in their system. And Jan, Christy's husband, said that she was known to recreationally use drugs, which means like cocaine and ecstasy, right? As like a party drug. Sparingly and every now and then. It's not like she was a drug addict. Do you know what I mean? It's the party scene thing. But heroin, he's like, she would never touch heroin. So already when he found out in the beginning that she had heroin in her system and ketamine, which is like a horse tranquilizer. It's a major strong tranquilizer. Okay, whoa. Already then he suspected foul play. So there is at least some justice already, knowing that David Pierce is behind bars. And now many more women have come forward, up to 7 already, and there could be more that come forward. I hope they do. Talking about what he's really like and what he did to them and I'm trying not to say YouTube trigger words, what a predator he really is. So yeah, you could just see how sneaky it is of him to go from his place and then to these parties in downtown Los Angeles and then lure girls and say, don't worry, I'll give you a ride. And then just quickly, anyway, if they're going anywhere in this direction westward, he'll be like, oh, I'll give you a ride. And then just like, whoops, okay, just quickly need to stop by my apartment. Just come inside for a second type thing. And as we saw in that video where I did a deep dive on the timeline, neighbors actually said they heard noises as if someone was moaning in pain all day on November 13th. And yes, if you hear something like that, please call the police, please call 911 or whatever. Do what you need to do. Don't just hear the noises and say, oh yeah, I heard someone in pain all day. Rather call. You just don't know. That could have maybe, I'm not trying to shame the neighbors, but it could have saved their lives. You just don't know, because hours and hours went by before Christy and Hilda were dropped off the next evening at these two separate hospitals. But yes, if we just quickly go to David Pierce's place, I wonder if Brand still lives here. You know, who's still living here now? But if we go here, you can see it looks like that picture that I shared yesterday, which is this like apartment complex. I don't believe it's a house. I believe it's an apartment type of complex. You see here and here, and let's go around the corner, shall we? We're driving now, people. Olympic Boulevard, yes. Ooh, okay. We're driving. Interesting. And let's just go down the road here. I mean, it looks like a nice area. I mean, damn. Okay. So, unfortunately, this is where Christy died. Oh, damn. What are you blocking out there, people? What are we blocking out? Yeah, so they showed footage on those news clips that I showed on my trailer of, like, walking in here. I could remember this. This looked like almost like a lemon tree at the time. Is it? Anyway, but walking in there, and I'm sure you could go up here to the upstairs entrances here. I don't know exactly what the apartment number was, but yes. Oh man. So that was just a quick map time for you. Hope you enjoyed that. And if there's any more information that I receive, because there are people that are very close to this case and know a lot of information, I will tell you that information. I want to also just tell you one thing that I also got from a source, which says, how do we know that they wanted to go to that area to party, right? So they were at Soho House, downtown first. Then there was a DJ event going on in a warehouse in East LA, which is a mile or two from where Soho House was. This is not a regular venue, okay? But it was in the area, which we showed on the map as Soho House. And then from there, they were supposed to go to an after-hours party that was going on in the Hollywood Hills. Christy was supposed to meet a guy friend of her, and he called several times looking for her when she never showed. It appears that David said they were going to the same party and offered to give them a ride. And then, which has happened before, he came up with an excuse why he needed to stop by his place on Olympic on the way to the party. And then, of course, he lures them in with doing a quick line, and then they never leave. Christy was open that she would recreationally use ecstasy and coke when she partied, as would her husband. But it's recreational, it's not addiction type use. It's once in a while. It was just for having a good time. I believe they were trying to Uber from David's house to the after hours party up in the hills, and those often go into the daylight the next day. So that is what I have so far for you guys. So they first went there, and then they were going to the next party in the same area. Okay. So from here, then it closed, then they went to another party, and from there, then they were going to an after party in this sort of area over here. So that's what we have, and I hope it makes more sense visually for those of you who wanted to see some map time. And I will, of course, see you in the next one. And as I say, I hope that if you haven't watched that video yet, that you will give it some love. Go watch it. Go see all the work that I put in to put together this timeline for you and really understand the story. Give it a thumbs up, share it if you don't mind, same as on this video. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, hit the bell, set it to all so that you get notifications for when I next go live or upload another video. Thank you so much. See you soon.